I'm ready. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Josh Guillory Show. I am your grateful host. And in studio with me, my man Lane over there. What's up, Lane?
Hi, everybody.
Man, you doing all right today?
I'm doing pretty good.
What a great weekend. What a great day today here in Acadiana and across our country. Wonderful, wonderful audience. Lane, we even had some folks in India one time watching.
Cool.
That's pretty cool. It must have been some local folks maybe visiting, but still, I thought when that registered in, I was like, okay, that's international now.
Yeah, you made it to the international audience. Usually a little tough, especially with that language barrier.
It'll be okay. Well, that's something. So anyway, guys, look, we're broadcasting on rumble.com. Go check us out, obviously, from the mothership, KPEL. And shout out to our KLFY Plus viewing audience. We certainly appreciate you guys, man. It's been busy this weekend. I'm sure everybody's been watching the news. At some point, you probably saw where there's, we struck a deal. So it seems like we're pretty good there. President Trump announced what appears to be a pretty big breakthrough in Iran, according to the agreement. So we have an agreement, I think. We think we do. Pretty sure we do. But according to the agreement, the Strait of Hormuz, which is very important to the oil and gas industry, but major markets across the country, economies are tied to it. It's a thing as we have seen. So the Strait of Hormuz is going to reopen. The American naval blockade that's in effect right now will end. Military operations will cease. Hezbollah, oh, this is good. Hezbollah is expected to stop fighting in Lebanon. Okay. And formal signing is expected later this week in Switzerland. Boy, Switzerland seems to be the place. That seems to be the place where all the peace is, I guess. You ever notice that? Switzerland, they didn't even fight. It's a World War II reference. But no, seriously, everybody goes to Switzerland. All right, so the markets apparently liked it immediately. I mean, there was an immediate reaction, and that happens. You know, that happens. You can go back to the invasion of Iraq, just the buildup in the war, whether or not we were going to go to war. Just before, I think it was March 2003. So November, December time of 2002, beginning part of 2003, and we're still post 9/11 and all, but you could see the oil markets, you could see, markets in general, not just oil markets in general, the market was very volatile back then. It reminds me a lot of today in this regard. Of course, they're different. But but oil prices almost immediately dropped. You could see that over the weekend, the forecast and all, and then it's what to be expected when you have uncertainty. When you have uncertainty, the markets are uncertain. When you have certainty, the markets are a little bit more predictable, growing a lot more productive, a lot more fruits. But oil prices dropped, and for good reason. About 1/5 of all the world's oil passes through the Strait of Hormuz. That's a big deal. I mean, when that waterway becomes unstable, energy prices tend to rise. And when energy prices rise, man, Americans feel it. Americans, the rest of the world does too, but we're talking about our interests right now. And we feel it everywhere. We feel it at the gas pump when that happens. We feel it at the grocery store. We see it in shipping costs, and then those trickle down to all our purchases. So yeah, that's a pretty big deal. But let's start off with what we know. So we know that the shooting stopped. Okay, we know that the shipping lanes are reopened. This is what we know of the deal. Of course, more details will play out, and there's a 60-day window that we're going to discuss here in a little bit. But the shipping lanes reopened. All started moving. That's good. You saw some videos. I saw some videos on Fox News and CNN, all the outlets over the weekend. Pretty amazing just to see some of those ships just sitting there. And then, a lot of them. So now having that commerce open, having that shipping lane open, the rest of the world is going to be impacted at least by a fifth. If it's a fifth of the world's oil, that's crazy. But those are positive developments. We like that. We don't need any spin required. Those are objective measuring points. You can look at where a market is. You can look and see what futures are if that's even applicable right here. But those developments did not happen. All of that didn't happen by accident. We know that. We know a lot of effort went into this. We see a different strategy used from the Trump administration compared to other administrations. You saw how President Obama handled things. You saw how President Bush, George W. Bush, handled things in regards to this. Those are the two. I don't know about President Biden was just letting illegals come in, but anywhere from 10 to 20 million illegal aliens invaded the country. And if just 1% Lane is bad actors, that's not a good number, by the way. Okay, it only took 19 hijackers on 9/11. So I'm just saying. But now Iran did not voluntarily come to the table. Okay, we know that, and there's reason to highlight this because there's a lot of good that came out of this. It's a fair question to ask. What did we gain? And we'll digest that together. We'll do it together. But Iran did not just willy-nilly wake up one day and say, Ayatollah number whatever we're on now, 3 or 4 or whatever, Khomeini 3, I think. Today I'm going to go work with the Americans. Nope. Pressure produced that outcome, and that is the theme of any negotiation with President Trump, or any negotiating with President Trump. But that's what he brings from the business side. It's all about pressure. Pressure moves people. You try to pressure folks to move them in a certain way in these negotiations. But I'm okay with we've always said strategic attacks, a strategic mission, no long-term nation building, all that stuff. And we didn't see any of that. But pressure produced this particular outcome. Military pressure, economic pressure, naval pressure. The thumb was on the scale, and you could see that. But that is an accomplishment whether you supported every aspect of the conflict or not. If we just stop right there, those are things that we probably should recognize, But now we get to the question, though, that really matters. What exactly did we accomplish? And that you should ask that every war, every conflict we go in there. What did we accomplish? Strategically, what did we accomplish? Not emotionally. I'm not talking about any political accomplishments or anything like that. I'm talking strategically. And none of that strategery. Back to George W. Bush. But because this is where things get really, 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 really interesting, to say the least. Everybody can agree that peace is preferable to war. Most people. Now, don't talk to Lindsey Graham because he'll come from Disney World with his pink wand and want to go invade everybody, okay? I'm just saying the man Did you know about that?
I did hear about that. And the crazy thing is he has no children, so I don't know why he was at Disney World.
I asked the same thing. Wait
really
a minute.
weird.
Why did he go? Like, is it a nephew or a cousin or something? What the flying flip are you doing? Which, hey, I say that we have friends that love Disney World, but yeah, they go with their kids. But I don't know. I'm sure many grown-ups go to Disney World by themselves. They got like sports stuff, I hear.
It's just a very odd hobby.
You just don't think Lindsey Graham would be in a sports bar, is what you're saying?
Probably not. He's a very odd man. Very strange.
The folks from South Carolina keep sending him back. What are you talking about?
And I don't know why they keep sending him back.
Is he up this year? He's not up this year.
No, he is up. He actually won his primary.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. So no one primaried him?
There were like 2 challengers, but he had a Trump endorsement. It's hard to beat that most of the time.
Trump.
Yeah.
Mr. Trump. President Trump. Anyway. We love you, Senator. We love you. We're kidding. All right, guys, stick around. We'll be right back. That was good, Lane. See, we got... Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show. We are broadcasting from the GOAT Studios here, but also on KPL, Lafayette, Breaux Bridge, and in the Acadiana area. Go check out rumble.com, and shout out to our KLFY Plus viewing audience. We certainly appreciate you, and go check out my friends over there at Dr. Kevin's Wellness Clinic. Hey, you want to feel better, you want to look better, you want to get some of those questions answered, dive really deep, really deep into your health situation on these the blood tests that Dr. Kevin and his crew does, and the time that they take on examining your blood. That sounds kind of weird, sounds kind of crazy, but no, just doing the test that you would ordinarily expect from a healthcare professional. But man, they go into the weeds. And when I first started the program with Dr. Kevin, the cleansing program or whatever he calls it, I just know I feel better. All right, I'm off of some of my medications because of it. But I remember sitting down the first time with him, going over, literally talking about my organs and how they're producing and things like that. And we've come a long way. I thought I was in good shape, and then I go there. I go through Dr. Kevin, and well, now I feel really good. So thank you, Dr. Kevin and his crew over there at Dr. Kevin's Wellness Clinic. I want you to go check them out. 983-CARE. Very big friend of the program. Man, let me tell you something though. We got some good stuff going on in our country. We got a lot of good stuff going on as far as the future of our country, as long as we can get Congress to hop on board with the executive branch. And I say all that because we're juggling some economic wins. We're juggling some stabilization of markets, and especially following this conflict in Iran. So my point all that is to see what we're doing domestically, to see what we're doing just as a whole. The fact that the president is able to juggle this particular conflict on top of the many other ones. We're not forgetting about Ukraine and Russia. We'll talk about Ukraine here in a little bit if we have some time. We're not talking about like everything going on. I thought this was well managed from an expectation standpoint. We didn't go in there. I mean, you could argue, I guess, against that, saying, well, we want a regime change. I looked at that as pressure from day one. I did not. If regime change would have happened, great. I don't know. I feel like I know this man now. I feel like I know his strategies. Of course, he's his own man and he can change. But Trump negotiates from strength. Trump negotiates and he negotiates from getting a deal. Like this is one of the aspects that I just like about the guy. I don't have to always agree on how he talks or what he says, but I mean, my goodness, we don't agree on no one can agree on 100% of things. But one thing this president does is he knows who he's fighting for. I never doubt ever that when Trump gets into a meeting or negotiates, who I know that I feel confident that he is fighting for the Americans' best interest and Americans' best interest, the American, the individual, and of course collectively. So when you go into these negotiations with these regimes, man, you can't be going in there tippy-toeing around. Like you can't go into Iran, negotiating with Iran with some little peace olive branches, let's just sign it. Let's just sign some paper and we'll see how this lands out. We'll see how this lands too, But we talked about everybody can prefer peace over war. Of course, everybody can also agree. Most people can agree that lowering oil prices is also preferable to higher oil prices. That's kind of an easy one. That's an easy one. The harder question, though, and this is just an objective, fair question. The harder question is whether we solved a problem or simply bought time. Did we solve this or did we buy time? They're not the same thing. I personally think, this is just my opinion, I think you buy time with this region. I don't think you can solve, I mean, honestly, unless the regime change, I don't think, but who knows what you're going to get replaced with. So in the Middle East, in these terrorist-sponsored states like Iran, the most you can hope for is 3 to 5 years, in my opinion. 3 to 5 years of peace and stability until they start it again, okay? So that's why you got to stay vigilant. That's why taking 4 years off when you had President Biden was detrimental. It was bad. like bad. So you go that pendulum swung pretty fast, pretty quickly. Thankfully, it swung back. But one of the stated justifications for military action was protecting American interests and preventing broader instability. Before the conflict escalated, American troops were not actively, engaged in combat with Iran, so there was no deaths. Global energy markets were functioning, so that's a reality. We got to be fair here. Today, however, if we want to be fair, Iran's nuclear facilities have been struck badly. Its economy came under enormous pressure during this. I mean, we don't understand it because we thankfully weren't on the other end of that siege, basically, the blockade. But its ports in Iran were blockaded. That was detrimental to them. Its oil exports were disrupted. Its proxies were weakened. And now its leadership is actually sitting at the table, at a negotiating table with the Americans. Definitely the American vice president. We were told maybe or maybe not Trump will be there. So it'd be inaccurate to say that nothing changed. Because I'm telling you, you're going to hear the pundits out there, just like they said with the tariffs, the next day or two, our whole economy would collapse and all that stuff. The doomsday guys. If Trump says it, orange man bad. It don't matter if it's great or not. He could cure cancer, like he said, and they'd still find something with him. But I just, man, here's my thing. Something changed because we're going to hear the folks, the pundits are going to say, well, why did we go to war? Why do we go to why do we have this military conflict? What did we gain? Something changed. I mean, the question is whether those changes prove durable. I just listed some of the reasons why they came to the table. Those are also some of the things that have changed too. Their nuclear capability has changed. Their economy has changed. It's changed. It might come back, might not. But those pressures were not just during the conflict. That will last for a little bit, and they know that. The Iranian regime knows that. With the regime. Lane, you've been keeping up with the protests and stuff over there in Iran, and then in some of the embassies across like Europe and things like that. Those are pretty brave folks standing up to the Iranian regime.
Very brave. You have these. Whenever the Islamist revolutions happened in Iran and around the Middle East, a lot of people were starting to compare them to Nazi Germany with the way they run everything there. If you're a woman and you show your hair, they kill you.
What?
If you're gay, they kill you, but you still have those queers for Palestine all over America. Even though if they ever were to take a step in
Man, they got to be paid. They got to be paid.
Some of them are. Some of them just are a little crazy. Let's all be honest here.
They got a little cray? They got a little cray in there?
Oh.
Man, here's my question. A genuine question. And I don't know this answer, but I'm telling y'all, this is sad, but it may be true. With the regime staying in power, what happens to all these protesters? Because I don't, man, that was brave to stand up. Like that guy waving the Persian flag on top of one of the embassies. He's got a target on his back. Like I feel bad for these folks because we don't know what's going to happen to them, and maybe that's part of the negotiations. Maybe that's part of Trump saying, "Look, I don't want to hear any of this retaliation of any of your people getting slaughtered for exercising their right." Now that's hey, sovereign country telling another sovereign country, but then you got human rights, and where's the UN? Why are we talking about this on the Josh Guillory show when the United Nations should be saying, "Hey, I hear this conflict's going to stop. We got some concerns about, civil rights and protecting people from voicing their opinion. We think you might slaughter them. Where are you at? Maybe they're there, Lane. Maybe we don't know. I don't know. Look, keep my eye on that.
Got it.
Yeah. All right, guys, stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show. Let me go tell you about my friends over there, Giles Volvo. Hey, look, you see these Volvos all over town. You see these Volvos all over the country, man. This luxury vehicle is very affordable. And at Giles Volvo, you know you're going to get the customer service. You know you're going to get a wide selection. That's just what they do in Giles Automotive. But Giles Volvo right here in town in Lafayette, Louisiana, man, go check them out. Look at their variety. Look at their sales force. But Giles Volvo, you ever wonder, like, hey, I'd like a nice little luxury car, and I'd like to be able to afford it, and I'd like to be able to have great maintenance and be able to go see my rep even after I buy the vehicle to just ask questions or give him a call or her a call. That's what you got at Giles Volvo. Go check them out. Giles Volvo right here in Lafayette, Louisiana, servicing the Acadiana area and beyond. Come visit them, Giles Volvo. Lane and I were continuing to talk about this big news, man. And I'm sure especially if you watch talk radio or listen to talk radio and our podcasts and things like that across the spectrum. Yeah, big deal going on in Iran. So there's apparently a ceasefire or an agreement. It's more than a ceasefire. It's an agreement, stipulated terms of peace, which is good. We know our Vice President, J.D. Vance, he's going to be there later this week, I think Friday, in Switzerland. They're gonna strike a deal, gonna sign it. We're breaking that down right now. President Trump may or may not be there. I kind of like that. I might be there. I might not. I don't know. Is the Ayatollah coming? If the Ayatollah's coming, I'm going. Who knows? Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't. All right. So the question is, because we got all these different things happening. We got all these, the Strait of Hormuz is open. All supplies back rocking and rolling. 20% of the oil market, again, in the world comes through the Strait of Hormuz. That's a lot. 1/5, okay? 1 out of 5 barrels comes from there, basically. That's a lot. We got the ceasefire. We got all the things that we're talking about. We have the regime extremely hit, just demoralized. I mean, the economic hit they took, the military hit that they took, their hit on their nuclear capabilities that they took from not just America, but Israel as well, and mainly Israel on that one. But hey, the question is not the question is not really, did that happen and is it good? It's good for American interests, yes, and yes, it happened. The question, though, is whether those changes prove durable. That's where we got to look at. And that's what the task of this administration the next 2+ years and beyond. That's what America and our allies, mainly us, but America and our allies need to watch. You would think those guys in Europe would have a heck of a lot more interest in Iran than we do. Don't you think?
You would think so, especially because they need the oil. We make our own oil.
Like, for real.
Yeah.
They really, and that's who you want to, I'm telling you. But I think Europe is going to come through an awakening too. I think they're seeing stuff that we've been saying and seeing. Like, I've even I saw over the weekend, immigration policies are changing in Europe because they're having massive illegal immigration issues. And we're like, we could have told you that. But look, the deal reportedly created a 60-day period. I want to talk about that for further negotiation over Iran's nuclear program, which is the main reason why we went in. So, in other words, the hardest part of the entire dispute was not resolved, and it was deferred. I don't think we walk away from that, clearly. There's no way we go and attack literally the top of the regime multiple times, just destroy their infrastructure, just do all these things and just completely walk away from the nuclear, not to play on words, the nuclear option. But it was deferred. That doesn't mean the deal is bad. Can't just, have that attitude. It simply means we should be very clear-eyed about what happened. Crystal clear. The central question today ultimately is the exact same question that existed before the war began, before the conflict began, which is, can Iran ultimately possess the capability to build a nuclear weapon? Because if the answer is yes, then the conflict returns. That's what I think this 60-day, I really think that's what this 60-day window is for. And I'm not saying that we go in there with missiles, maybe not this year, next year, whatever, but maybe not even 5 years. But eventually it returns. Eventually it does. If the answer is no possible way that they have a nuclear weapon or nuclear weapon capabilities, and it stays true, and that becomes a reality, a fact, okay, a long-term fact, then history may look at this agreement very differently, very differently. I mean, the regime is still there. That's true. I get it. But remember, removing the regime was never the stated principal objective. It's very important. The stated objective, what we were told going into this thing, was preventing a nuclear-armed Iran, protecting American interest in the region and in the globe, and back home, restoring stability to critical shipping lanes, because it ain't like they weren't playing games over there with the shipping lanes, and also reducing the threat posed by Iran and its proxies. Now, judged by those standards, there's a strong argument, honestly, that meaningful progress was made, which brings us back to the real measure of success. A peace agreement is not automatically victory. It's not. A ceasefire is not automatically a victory. The question is whether what was gained and what was lost. And what will last too. You gain, you lose, what's going to be standing, what's not going to be standing. I mean, if the military campaign permanently degraded Iran's nuclear ambitions, strengthened deterrence, produced concessions that could not have been achieved otherwise, look, supporters are going to argue that the operation was worth it. If the end result is simply a temporary pause, and then that temporary pause is like followed by renewed tensions or any of that stuff, critics will ask whether we merely delayed the problem. I think anything you do in the Middle East is a short-term deal. Whether it's 3 years, 20 years, 20 is kind of long, 3 to 5, 10 years, that's what you can count. But that's not unlike any other goal we're attacking, or excuse me, any duty that we're addressing in the country. The economy, you're working on 3 to 5 years, maybe you got some short term, but long term, and I can go on and on and on. It's not just with Iran. But hey, look, I will tell you this, the fact that if we look at American policy in the past, this is kind of what I want to end on this with the segment. If you look at our past foreign policy over the last 20 years, 25 years, okay? 25, man, quarter of a century. Jeez. It often followed a different model than what we see. Military intervention, nation building, occupation, democracy promotion, years and years of involvement, years and years of spending, years and years of trying to transform entire societies based on values and based on cultures that are totally different than ours. This looked different. You had military force, very, very strategic. You had economic pressure. You had naval dominance. Then diplomacy. It wasn't diplomacy and then, no, we went in there. The sequence matters. Americans will use force when necessary. America will defend its interest. America will keep vital shipping lanes open. All these things. But we don't have enough time to finish it. Doggone. All right, me and Lane are going to be right back. You stick around. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show. Y'all go check out my friend, Dr. Stacey St. Marie at St. Marie Orthodontics. You got any questions on braces? You got any questions on what your options are? Maybe you had braces before. You want to revisit again. Maybe those teeth shifted a little bit. Go visit my friend over there, Dr. Stacey St. Marie, and his crew at St. Marie Orthodontics. Go get that perfect smile. And also, they have this new, well, it's not new anymore, but the technology they use is up to date, which I'm fascinated every time I talk to Dr. Stacy about it. But go check out those Invisaligners. See if you qualify for it. Very cost effective. It ain't like it used to be when they first came out, with like everything else. But man, go check out just the friendly staff. I don't even know how to explain it. My kids went there. It's like it's wonderful. I know my wife, a whole bunch of other people that were very happy with St. Marie Orthodontics, and I bet you know somebody too, or maybe yourself. But go check them out. St. Marie Orthodontics, right here in Lafayette, Louisiana. I got my boy Lane still in the studio with me, man. Lane, you all right over there?
I'm doing good.
That's a good thing, man. So we'll talk about Tulsi Gabbard and some declassified large some collections of record. But Lane, on this Iran thing, let's wrap a bow on it. You could easily say, well, what do we go in there for? You could easily say that. Well, I think when you go back and you look at the stated messages of the president and the group of 8. That's the 8 people in Congress that run Congress, four on each side. I thought we elected 435 of them. No, we have eight that run it. Okay, I got it. So the stated goal was, correct me if I'm wrong, no nuclear weapon, no nuclear capabilities or anything like that. Stop the proxy terrorism. Stop the Hezbollah and all the action in Lebanon. All these things. Okay. Seems like we've accomplished most, if not all of them, or definitely. I mean, the Hezbollah thing, the proxy terrorists. I don't know how you get there without a regime change, but regime change wasn't our stated goal. That's not what I heard.
Yeah, pretty much. And if you listen to Trump, even in 2016, he's pretty much always been an Iran hawk. He's always been very, very critical of Iran and the regime there.
True.
He went in and they had the goal is to make sure they don't have any nukes. Let's make sure they can't continue to have terrorism throughout the region. And he's pretty much done that. And they're in the war. Our gas prices will go down. Our economy will become stronger. That's what he wants. That's what we're going to get. Fingers crossed. Let's hope this deal goes through.
Yeah, absolutely. And another thing, we talk about this a lot. Leaders in that region, leaders in the Middle East, for whatever reason, respects strength, brutal strength. Hey, you be the judge. I don't live there, neither do you probably. but I am telling you firsthand. The leaders in that mentality, in that area, in that region of our world, respects brutal strength. That's it. Okay? So America in the past has either gone into this big old nation building thing, which, okay, we saw where that got us, or they would just do like Biden and Obama and just apologize for everything. I mean, Obama was way more of a hawk than Biden. I mean, he was not afraid to use the drones. To say the least, but regardless, America, you would have never gotten this under any of the previous presidents except maybe Reagan, and the doctrine that Trump is implementing is way more like Reagan than it was W. Bush, and if that might not even be fair to George W. But I mean, 9/11 was a different times. You had to react. Just like FDR reacted to the Great Depression with the New Deal. I don't know if he would have pushed big government like that had he known what it started. But at the time, you kind of have to give the guy, well, what can we do? I mean, World War II, you handle it a different way than maybe you handle the country in peacetime. Go ask Abraham Lincoln. Just saying, he look at Lincoln. Lincoln probably had a whole bunch of great ideas for the country. Probably had a whole bunch of economic ideas, probably had a whole bunch of domestic, maybe even some foreign diplomacy that he was all gung-ho, what motivated him to be the president of the United States, and then, secession and then the Civil War. So he had a few things he had to adjust. But if you look at the doctrine of Trump and how he is using foreign diplomacy, if you had to compare, I mean, look, Reagan was very strategic. Grenada and things like that. Very, very Panama, very, very strategic. In and out, that kind of stuff. No long-term conflicts, no long-term wars, if it can at all be avoided. And we say peace through strength all the time. Peace through strength. Well, sometimes you got to use the strength. And not using the strength, yeah, it could be a deterrence to a degree. But I'm going to tell you this, at least in the next 2 years, that region at least knows they got a guy in the Oval Office that ain't afraid to use his commander in chief role, and we'll see. Maybe this starts a precedent. Maybe it starts a precedent where presidents take the fight to the enemy. I'm telling you, this fight is a fight. This fight with Iran and its proxies is a fight. We're either going to continue. We would have either continued to let them bring the fight to us, or we're choosing to bring the fight to them in a very strategic manner, in and out. Just like these drug boats and things like that. Oh, you want... Listen, the drugs were coming. The cartel and the drugs were sending it to American shores. Where do you want to attack it? You want to attack it in the middle of the ocean where it's easy? Or you want to wait for them to come to our land where they have constitutional protections on our soil and we have to go that route? Okay, so anywho, that's all the time we have for this hour, but we're going to be right back, and I can't wait. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Josh Guillory Show. I remain your very, very grateful host. And in studio with me, my buddy Lane. What's happening, Lane?
Hi, everybody.
You didn't go anywhere in the break?
No.
That's a good thing. So I think we can wrap a bow on the Iran topic. That's a big one. And it'll continue to develop. But let's go to our friend Tulsi Gabbard. Man, Tulsi Gabbard just declassified a large collection of records involving U.S.-funded biological laboratories around the world, including more than 40 laboratories in Ukraine. Just declassified that. I think that's pretty big. Now, I think a lot of time, probably immediate reaction from a lot of people are probably going to be like, wait a minute. I thought we were told none of this existed. What do you mean these secret laboratories all over the world, more than 40 in Ukraine? What? And that's not exactly what we're told. What stands out here is simply the existence of the laboratories. I mean, what stands out is how aggressively certain topics were pushed out of bounds the moment ordinary folks just started asking a few little questions. Just a few little, nothing to see. Be quiet. So let's start with a few facts. The newly declassified documents show that the United States funded biological laboratories in Ukraine. The documents show those laboratories housed dangerous pathogens. The documents show American funding supported laboratory upgrades. They supported training, research partnerships, and biological threat reduction efforts. These are not allegations. Those are new declassified facts. Maybe you're hearing it first at the Josh Guillory Show. I don't know. But this, it caught my eye, and I wanted it to catch yours too. Because at the same time, these documents, they do not establish that the United States was operating a biological weapons program in Ukraine, although maybe we are. What they show is a network of U.S.-supported laboratories involved in pathogen research, security, monitoring, and threat reduction activities. Okay, that distinction is well noted, because if we're going to follow the facts, we should follow all of them, not just the ones that fit a preferred little narrative. Even critics, by the way, even critics of the declassification acknowledge these laboratories were publicly described as threat reduction and public health programs designed to secure dangerous pathogens and prevent proliferation. Well, that's a very important distinction. That kind of matters a little bit. But something else matters as well, and that's questions. Questions matter. Look what we're talking about here. Remember what happened a few years ago? Anybody? The moment someone asked questions about U.S.-funded laboratories in Ukraine, the response in many corners wasn't to answer the question at all. The response was to attack the person asking the question. Attack, attack, attack. And the discussion immediately became, well, misinformation. Remember that? Misinformation says who? Because we got the facts. Oh, it's a conservative thought. I got it. It's a Republican thought. It's misinformation. Remember conspiracy theory? Bunch of conspiracy theorists thinking we have all these labs all over the world. What's wrong with you? Russian propaganda. That's a blast from the past. But remember that? Conversation over. Case closed. Move along. Except now, we discovered there are actually dozens of U.S.-funded laboratories. Shocker. There were actually dangerous pathogens. There actually were American contractors. There actually were American training programs. There actually were extensive connections between these facilities and American institutes. Again, that doesn't prove wrongdoing, but it does prove the questions were not imaginary, and you made all of us feel like we're crazy just for asking questions that were very commonsensical questions. They were then, and they are now, and they will be in the future when elites lie to us again. But a healthy society, my dear friends, should be able to distinguish between asking questions and making accusations. Hopefully, we are moving past that. But that is kind of wild, Hey, by the way, what were we exactly funding? That's what the main question was when we were told there's none of these laboratories, pathogens across the globe. What are you talking about? Well, just another example of Trump declassifying things or his administration. You know exactly, like I said, you're going, what you see with staff, what you see with subordinates is exactly the mindset and mentality of the leader. And this particular leader wants transparency. Declassify all this stuff. Let the folks see it. Did you see the UFOs, Lane?
I did hear about the UFOs. It's a little scary that our government's hiding stuff about aliens from us.
What?
But, it shouldn't surprise us. The government doesn't necessarily not hide stuff from us. They're known for that. That's why we should be scared of big government and not support big government.
Thank you. That's right. It's a mentality. It's a mentality. Big government is a lot of times centralized government. And that's when a few, in Baton Rouge control the rest of the state, which states' rights different, but Washington controlling the states. It's just think of student-teacher ratio, even if we give them the benefit of the doubt. But yeah, so the UFOs, you didn't watch any of those videos?
I didn't see any specific videos about the UFO documents.
See, I'm going to get my hair cut later. So at the barbershop, we talked about this, and it's very scientific, because it's at the barbershop. But I don't know. They're the first ones that showed me that. Showed me some videos. It's interesting, Well, I don't know what they are. Who knows? It might have been our own aircraft.
Who knows? They talk about that a lot, about when you see a B-2 in the sky, it doesn't look like anything you've ever seen before.
Doesn't look like anything you've seen before when they drop a few things, too. All right, so we're going to take us a tiny little break. Man, when we get back, we're gonna switch gears a little bit. I just wanted to tell everybody about this laboratory situation. I think folks would get a kick out of that. Remember, we were told a whole long time, nothing to see here, but we see it. Stick around. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show. Go check out my friends over there at Giles Volvo. You see the Volvos all over town. You see the Volvos everywhere you go. Man, get that luxury feel from Giles Volvo and that luxury car at a very affordable price. Go visit them, Giles Volvo. You will not regret it. Now, let's switch gears here a little bit. The Secretary of Homeland Security was asked whether immigration enforcement could occur near polling places, and judging by the reaction, you would think he proposed stationing a tank outside of every voting precinct in America. Remember, this is the Secretary of Homeland Security, okay? Now, let's slow it down for a little bit. It kind of gets a little weird fast, I got to warn you. So the administration's position is pretty simple. Only American citizens should vote in American elections. How is that hard? That should not be controversial at all. I mean, we don't argue, should someone drive without a driver's license? No, we say you have to have a driver's license. Well, I mean, you can't vote if you're not an American citizen in an American election. That is common sense and has bipartisan support, close to 80%. I mean, somebody, like, if somebody says only American citizens should vote in American elections and half the country immediately loses its mind, it's not a half, it's about 20%. But that tells you something has gone wrong in the conversation. If we can have 20 or 30% of Americans disagree with that very common sense policy. Now, I don't even think the debate is really about that principle, quite frankly. I kind of wish it was. I mean, almost everyone agrees with that principle. Like we said, poll out recently, about 4 or 5 months ago, national poll cited by all the major outlets, media outlets, and it shows close to 80% of Americans, Democrat and Republican way up there, Democrat over 70%, I believe, support Americans proving that they are citizens before registering to vote. Well, this goes a little step further. Only American citizens should vote in American elections. Common sense. But the debate is about how you enforce it. That's where the debate is coming from. And I don't know how you can say in one breath, yes, I believe this, but then get upset with how it's enforced. I mean, that's the real fight. Secretary Mullen, Mark Wayne, ain't playing around. Mark Wayne Mullen, that's a name right there. That's a Homeland Security name.
It really is.
You know, Mark Wayne, UFC. You think he was there last night? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he probably was there last night. I know Trump was, and probably most of the cabinet was with him.
Man, it got delayed. I had to go to bed. So Secretary Mullen pointed to cases involving non-citizen voting and argued that even a smaller number is too many. Agreed. Totally agree. Should be zero. Now, his critics responded. They didn't like what Mark Wayne said. They said that the number of prosecutions is extremely small and does not justify dramatic action. What? What are you like? What are you saying? Are you so you're just say what you're saying? Like you're cool with illegal votes. That's just what you're okay with. When you object to it, you're saying that you don't want what's going on. So therefore, you do want, reasonably concluded, you do want illegal votes to be casted. That is not even a legitimate debate. But notice what happens. Notice what keeps happening in all these discussions. You know, one side says we need election integrity, which should be everybody, which most Americans say that. Just the elites in Washington, especially on the Democrat side, their minds explode. Okay, they immediately hear when we say that election integrity, what they immediately hear is you're trying to suppress votes. I don't even know if they believe that. I just think that's their national, like you pull the string and the toy just talks. You know, you hear things like we should verify citizenship. Yes, we should verify citizenship. But there's a group of folks that hear that and they say you're trying to intimidate voters. Again, don't know if they really believe that or if that's just their tactic. And before long, nobody's even discussing the actual question anymore. They're arguing with the version they imagined in their head. So here's what I find to be very interesting here. We verify identity for all doggone kinds of things. You can rattle them off. You got to have an ID to board an airplane. You got to have an ID to purchase certain products. If you want to open a bank account, guess what you need? You need identification. You need identification for countless interactions with government and private institutions. Yet, somehow, the moment voting enters the conversation, a basic verification discussion becomes a doggone national crisis. I can't even fathom it. I mean, I know every proposal isn't wise. I got that, but I mean, that also, like every enforcement mechanism, doesn't mean every enforcement mechanism we do is smart, but at least we're doing something. And it certainly doesn't mean polling places should become political theater. Nobody wants that either. But it does mean the burden should probably fall on opponents to explain why verifying citizenship is inherently unreasonable. How is that? What do you think over there?
You would think that verifying identity before voting would be something that would be the top of the minds of most Americans, considering that voting is the biggest power that our government allows us to have within deciding things in government. We choose who goes to Washington, D.C. every 2 years for our midterms, 4 years for our general elections. But it just blows my mind. There are so many people, not even real people, let's all be honest. It's all these talking heads in Washington, all these bureaucrats, but not these real Americans. We look at these polls, 80% of Americans believe in voter ID, 95% of Republicans, 70% of Democrats. Last time I checked, we talked about majorities the first day I was on the job. 70% is more than 50, 95% is more.
They have a problem with 50%. They have a problem.
They have a problem. You look at the Senate, they can't figure out how to filibuster.
They don't know what a majority.
They don't know what a majority is.
The filibuster. I mean, isn't that something? Man, get yourself up. If you want to filibuster, you better get your little happy self up there, get your diapers on, and stay up there for a day.
You would imagine most of the Democrats are wannabe theater kids that couldn't even find a job in Hollywood. And that's why they're in D.C. right now. That's the problem with D.C. right now. We have all these theater kids that aren't even that good at acting. And then you have people like Chris Murphy who tries to curse and it just sounds funny.
Oh, don't do that. Yeah, no. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, it's more like political theater right now.
Pretty much.
That's about that. They are good at this. But as you're saying that, it kind of makes me think like, on its face, like all of this, it sounds like common sense, The second thing that jumps out at me at least is how much of modern politics really has become a trust problem. And it's because politicians have done it to themselves. A large portion of the country does not trust the election system. And I don't think the 2020 election helped at all. And I'll tell you, that's why I was so upset that the court didn't take it up. Bush v. Gore in 2000, the court took it up, solved the situation without a hearing. Because I'm just saying, bold accusations require bold proof. I don't have the proof in front of me that the election was stolen, okay? But one thing I do have is video. One thing I do have is video, and you have this too, it's public, of people walking away with boxes of ballots. I don't know which one it was on this one, but there's an image just burned in my mind about a lady. I know y'all have seen it with the table underneath, and she had the boxes, and she just walked off, and there's several hours of no accountability. Why not explain that? I'm not saying the election was stolen because I don't have any proof, but boy, I have a lot of things that, look what they did with Trump. They did lawfare on him and made up all these trumped up charges, no pun intended, and ran that dude and his wife and his kids through the ringer. And you wouldn't want to act on this? Like, this is just so, it's so bizarre. Anyway, we'll be right back. Stick around. Don't you go anywhere. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show. We are broadcasting on rumble.com. Go check us out. Also, the KLFY Plus viewing audience, we certainly appreciate you. And go check out my friends at Dr. Kevin's Wellness Clinic. I'm telling you, I want you to feel good. I want you to feel good, look good, and have a clear mind. You know, go check him out. I'm telling you, one thing that stood out to me, and he'll have to explain this better than me. He has the training, of course. But look, my wife and I got the COVID vaccination, and we didn't really care for all the she had major side effects. I did not. But, you know, I really didn't care for all that being in my body, quite frankly. This is just me. This is just me. You can disagree with me all you want. I know there will be plenty of people that do. I know there will be plenty of people that don't. But I know that I saw from an objective standpoint on how he could maybe rid that or minimize some of the side effects, but you got to go check them out. Dr. Kevin's Wellness Clinic, 983-CARE. I wish I could do a way better job explaining it, Lane, than what I just did, but I know that he can. So go see Dr. Kevin, 983-CARE, and start feeling better, man. Start looking better and a whole bunch of things. We were talking about Mark Wayne Mullen over there at the Homeland Secretary of Homeland Security, DHS over there. Ain't messing around. He was asked whether immigration enforcement could actually enforce near polling places. Well, if someone takes out a knife in a polling location and stabs somebody, are we not going to enforce the law? Are we not? I don't know. Can you skip in line in voting? You hadn't voted yet, but I wonder if you can skip in line, because I bet you can. Not supposed to skip in the confession line too, but in the communion line. Well, I'm just saying, can you skip in the voting? Because if so, you'd have to enforce that. Yeah. So let me get this straight. We can enforce all laws within polling places. Like, this is not an anti-law zone, okay? Those are gun-free zones. Those are anti-law zones. We have a Second Amendment. I'm just saying. So you can enforce every law except immigration in a polling place, because that's partisan.
You would imagine enforcing the laws that are passed by Congress would not be partisan. How hard they can't even vote. This doesn't make sense to me. Illegal immigrants can't vote. Why can't we have immigration and customs enforcement at the polling place? Who are we scaring away? We're scaring away the people that already cannot vote. And if you can vote, why would you be scared of these officers? It doesn't make sense.
That's totally true. You know what I mean? If someone's, I guess, walking down the street with heroin open, and they probably would feel scared walking by officers, okay? But the folks that aren't rolling around with heroin in their hand have no problem. So in your analogy, yeah, man, if you're registered, you don't have anything to worry about. We're talking about elections here, okay? We're talking about elections here. Yes. So if you got to enforce it there, enforce it there. Hey, but we were talking about a whole bunch of stuff. I went on a little tirade there, a little tangent at the end about election integrity and just questions on the 2020 election. I'm not saying that it was stolen, because I don't have any proof, but I have a heck of a lot of questions that I believe the court could have helped us answer, and I think it was worth it. I think the American people would have been very well served by having those questions examined and answered. Whether it would change the election or not, who knows? But can't we all agree that, one vote, one person, that kind of stuff, and the vote that's cast should actually be cast? I'm just saying, you look at the numbers in Michigan, I went to bed just like everybody else in the 2020 election. It was something, and then you wake up and Michigan was all of a sudden different. Okay, that could happen. That could happen. But under these circumstances, explaining yourself would have helped a lot of things. But it goes back to when someone's trying to do the right thing, when someone's trying to change the system for the better, to serve the folks and not the elites in charge, They crucify that person. Look at what they did to Trump, okay? We're talking about lawfare, Lane and I in the break. Maybe we'll talk about it some more. But Letitia James, she's the New York Attorney General. You have Fani Willis. That's the district attorney in Atlanta. Okay, over there, I think it's Fulton County. Yeah, Fulton. All right. You had Alvin Bragg, the DA, the district attorney of New York. All of these people abused their power. They went after an American citizen based on no legal findings. They had. Look at what they had to do in New York. They wanted to go get Trump on this little misdemeanor, but they couldn't because the misdemeanor had expired. It was statute of limitations. So what do? They go find this felony stretch it, based on this misdemeanor that has expired. But if you tweak it just a little, you can get past the statute of limitation. They go forum shop. They find a judge they like. They find a jury they like. And they lawfare the heck out of this man. And thankfully, he kept going. Can y'all imagine if Trump would have quit and just said, I'm done with all this. Done with all this. You know? No, and I'm thankful he didn't quit. But not everybody has the resources he has. I get all that. But look, do you know any other examples of lawfare? You know any other examples? I can think of one. But anyway, so you were mentioning Letitia James. Yeah, she had a platform.
So Letitia James ran on getting Trump. So did Alvin Bragg, and so did Fani Willis. Well, Fani Willis slept around a little too much, and that got her in trouble. But all these people ran on getting Trump. They get mad at Trump when he says he's going to go for his enemies, but they ran saying they were going to pick the person and find the crime.
That is so, man. Listen, say that again.
They ran saying they would look at Trump and they would find the crimes he committed. Look at Lady Justice, and she has a blindfold on.
That's right.
And that blindfold is supposed to represent how justice is blind, how we find the crime and we go find the person that committed it. But Letitia James ran, Alvin Bragg ran, Fani Willis ran, and all these people that went after Trump ran on, let's find Donald Trump and let's go look for those crimes he committed.
They started off with, he's a criminal. They never told you what it was. He's a criminal. He's going to get arrested. He's going to be indicted. All these things. Like you said, they found the man that they didn't like. And then they go and find some trumped up charges to indict the guy.
And then what happened to the whole principle, you're innocent until proven guilty?
It don't work for rhinos and Democrats.
It doesn't at all.
Man, you know what else? Switching gear. Yeah, the lawfare is horrible. And what Fani Willis did, and we're talking about New York over there with Alvin Bragg and Letitia James, two separate things, by the way. Same state, same political lawfare, same lawfare. And you see it in other areas, I promise. Where these people go in there, they use their power for political gain, and they try to destroy folks' lives with the little power that they have, and it's all relative. But anywho, like I said, man, if it can happen to him, it can happen to anybody. So, anywho, let's move on, man. It's we're talking about I'm getting the hand and arm signal. Oh man, I was about to unleash. You hear me? All right. Well, we're going to unleash on this commercial break. We'll be right back, guys. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show, broadcasting on Rumble.com, KPEL. Shout out to all our streaming devices and also KLFY Plus. Man, go check out my friends over there, Dino's over there on Bertrand. Man, there's a lot of things going on in Bertrand. Those folks are kind of hot and heavy right now, rightfully so. But you know what else they got on that place? A lot of good places to eat. Dino's, being my folks over there, man. I was there yesterday. I'm there all the time, okay? I wasn't really behaving. That's a shout out to Sidra, behaving. I wasn't really behaving on my diet, but you know what? I know the ingredients that they use in Dino's, and that's why I get the blessing of my little health nut of a wife. So, hey, shout out to my friends at Dino's, 3 locations. You got the one on Bertrand, you got the one in off of Collie Saloon, and then the one in Henderson, right off the highway. You can't go wrong with these guys, man. Go check them out. Dino's. Lane, you eat at Dino's?
Oh, I love Dino's. Dino's is where I actually went on my first date with my girlfriend.
Well,
Love Dinos.
you see, there we go. Love is in the air. You love Dino's and you went on your first date.
Yes, sir.
Let's go to a topic. Man, this one right here, I'm just going to tell you. It is just mind boggling. We're going to talk about Social Security. And again, the sky is falling. And it's again, the people that are saying the sky is falling are the same people that have gotten us in this situation and their predecessors before. This is such a boondoggle. Anywho, all right, so Social Security is projected to face a major shortfall in 2032. The only thing I appreciate out of this announcement is it's not 2027 that they're saying. So we got a little time. According to the latest trustees report, benefits could be automatically reduced by roughly 22%. Yikes. If Congress does nothing, well, Congress, I imagine, would do something with this. You got to get some votes somewhere. But almost immediately, Washington started talking about reforms. Well, great, fantastic. I got a reform that I'm going to talk about. But some of the reforms that the politico class, the elites, of course, come back to, well, we need to raise the retirement age. We need a means test benefits. Okay, did you have a means test when you were taking the money out? You going to give that money back, means test? We need to adjust the eligibility, maybe. Create private accounts. Someone talked about that. All the usual ideas are back on the table, and I say, fine, great, wonderful. Let's have that conversation. But I'm just going to point something out. Before Congress starts talking about asking retirees, workers, and future generations to absorb painful changes, I have a much simpler question to ask. Has anybody looked around Washington lately? We're more than $40 trillion in debt. Right at $40 trillion. Congress spends money like there's no tomorrow. They print money. Now they just press buttons. Every year there's another emergency, another program, another spending package, another subsidy, another $1 trillion. We want to go fund transgender male menstrual cycle studies in North Africa, but we don't want to pay retirees something they paid into. Boy, if that's not a government model, I don't know one. And somehow, though, you ever notice the first serious conversation is always about the people who spent decades paying into Social Security, probably before a lot of these Congress folks were even alive. That's what jumps out at me in this story. Everybody agrees there's a problem. Everybody agrees, I would imagine, that something needs to be done. That's important. The trustees are sounding the alarm. That's what they're supposed to do. Lawmakers are sounding the alarm. That's politics, and we'll see where that wind blows. Not all of them. There are a lot of politicians that want to do the right thing and that are objective and all the stuff, and they try to do what's right. But boy, most of them just chase headlines and clicks. Both clicks. Clicks on the internet and clicks in real life. The numbers are what they are. The numbers are what they are. But Washington has a credibility problem. Like bad. They got a spending problem too. I mean, it is hard to lecture Americans about fiscal responsibility when Congress has spent years demonstrating the exact opposite of fiscal responsibility. You know, demographics, I mean, to be fair, I guess demographics matter, you know. People are living longer. We can address this. You know, people living longer, birth rates are lower. The ratio of workers to retirees has changed dramatically. Those realities are real. The math matters. I get all that. But so does trust. Trust matters like a lot. Because millions of Americans hear politicians in Washington and other places talking about reforming Social Security and immediately thinking one thing: they're coming after my benefits. Can you blame them? I can't blame anybody on Social Security that would have that mindset or that thought process. I mean, these are people who paid into the system their entire working lives. For many retirees, Social Security, man,